Hey yo, it's your boy Monster Man Rocco.
It's your boy Swagger Rock.
This is Snack the Ripper.
And you have to go, you don't know.
Master Ace. You are now rocking with the best. Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records, man.
Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records.
Breaking Records.
Breaking Records Radio. Let's go.
Breaking Records Radio.
Press 5 now, how you check Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records, man. Radio is like the place to be. I don't fuck strange music, dude.
Check 1, 2, it's your man Maloney, Breaking Records Radio, in the place to be. And I got a very, very, very special guest on the phone with me, an artist I've been a fan of for a very long time. He's, one of the nicest MCs in Canada. He's been holding down the East Coast for a very long time. You just gotta make noise for this man. But I got Quake Matthews on the phone with me, man. How you doing?
Yes, sir. What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot, man. Just hoping not to catch this coronavirus shit going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. But you got a lot of deep history in the Canadian hip hop scene, man. And there's so many different angles and ways to cover stuff. But one thing I do want to get into, just from the jump, you just dropped the When to Say When over the Drake beat.
Yeah.
I really liked what you did with that there. Got very in depth with it and stuff. And I wanted to ask first and foremost, like, when you said, you mentioned, like, when me and every other local rapper that quit was sharing dreams, and, how you're kind of still doing it, but a lot of the dudes fell back. I was curious, like, did that have anything to do with, your early days with, like, Fax 4 and that kind of shit?
I don't think that was really necessarily like applied to anyone in particular. I've just been doing this for a long time, over 10 years, and the unfortunate thing that ends up happening is a lot of people with a lot of talent, kind of end up falling back when real life gets in the way. Yeah. And that was just basically reference to that. There's tons of people that could fit that category. But yeah, no, it wasn't necessarily the Fax 4 thing. Just could have applied to anyone over the years.
Yeah, no doubt. And like, it's that's one thing I gotta commend you for too, man. Is like, from all the way back then up until now, how you've kept it consistent and stayed driven and stayed motivated when it is so you get to a certain point where it is very easy to fall back and almost double guess and question yourself and almost just kind of like life take the reins, you know what I mean? So I got to commend you for your consistent grind, and you've always stayed sharp. Like, ever since that verse on Mino Olymp, like, you came in and tore that shit off from the jump, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
You know what I'm saying? And, everything I've ever heard from you since has always been consistent and dope. So I got to commend you for just, keeping your head up, staying strong, and doing it.
No, much love, man. I appreciate that, man.
And, there's like two different places I could go from here because they're both angles that I want to take. But while we're on the Fax 4 specifically, I guess I just kind of want to ask you, too, like, how did that all come together? Because you were only, like, 16 at the time, right?
Yeah, I was 16 years old. I think Marky and Boyle were friends from they both played basketball at decently high levels, I believe. I'm not sure exactly, but I think that they were already like a group, and they were kind of doing shit. And then I think I met Spesh at Classified's house one day. I used to record some of my shit at Classified's house, and I remember I had a song with Spesh. So I think I don't know how it ended up happening or whose idea it was, because that's like over 10, 12 years ago. But I think it might have been Spesh's idea that was like, let's just put this group together and try to put something out. And that was just like kind of like the super beginning, man, when I used to have to get like written consent from the liquor commission to be in clubs and do performances, and that was just a fun time for me back then, getting to hang out with people who were all, 5 and 10 years older than me, experiencing club nightlife at 15 and 16 years old and getting buzzed up and having a good time. So that was definitely just a great time in my life, man.
Yeah, man, that's dope. And, it's crazy because I know Spesh, actually. So, I when he was living in Toronto here, we used to spend a lot of time together. And that's how I became familiar with Fax 4. Like, I've always been a fan of you guys in the East Coast movement and stuff. I had no idea about Fax 4, though. I knew about Quake. And anyway, so when I got the album, I'm listening to it. Like, I didn't even realize, I didn't even look at the credits or nothing. I just listened to it. I'm like, oh, this is dope. And I remember the one day, I'm like, yo, who is that dude on the first, like, who tore that mean old limp up first? I'm like, that's crazy. And I went and looked in the credits. I'm like, oh shit, Quake is in the group. And then, like, I put all the pieces together then. But, because I was already familiar with your music from other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I always thought that was interesting. And I always kind of wondered if that was kind of like your introduction to the game and shit.
I think the first record I ever might have did was that was actually anyone knew about was a record with Jay Brew. He actually gave me a chance.
Oh, word.
And we recorded that at Classifieds, and it was called One Hand, I believe. I don't even know if it's online anymore, but I would have been probably 15. That was the first time. And then I think being around those guys, Spesh and Brew and Classified, I think the Fax 4 thing spawned after that. And then we did our one album, and then kind of after that, I think everyone kind of went their own ways, and that's when I put out my debut album, The Myth.
Yeah.
Which was 2010.
The Myth's a dope album too, man. You know what I mean?
Oh, respect, man.
And yeah, man, just to see your growth from that time forward, and before we go a little bit forward too, Spesh K told me to ask you this, but he said, how did you have such a deep age at 14? Were you smoking cigarettes in elementary school?
You said what, a deep age?
He said, how'd you have such a deep voice at age 14? And then he said, were you smoking cigarettes in elementary school?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I definitely wasn't smoking cigarettes, but I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's just kind of how I was blessed, man. I don't know.
And but so to move forward to some of the things you said in When to Say When, I really like how you got in depth with that joint, and you really put things in perspective, because I myself just hit 32, and I found it to be kind of a discouraging fork in the road, because when I hit it, I was like, shit, I seen myself, I just when I was 20, I pictured I would have been in such a different position, musically in my career than I was, you know what I mean? I found it a little discouraging. And on the I Cook, She Drinks podcast that you did a while back, you mentioned that you actually quit being a senior accountant clerk at Scotia Bank to take on your music career. So I was wondering, when you hit that turning point at 30, did you ever kind of look back and be like, damn, I kind of wish I would have stayed doing that? Or do you never regret your decision to keep doing the music and pursuing your dreams?
No, I don't regret it. And to be honest, that shit got a super fancy name for just what I was doing was basically sorting mail. So
word.
So it's I don't know. I mean, it was decent. I definitely had opportunities to work up in Scotiabank, but man, I wasn't happy doing that. And so I'm glad, man. I haven't been doing that I probably quit that 6 years ago, 6 years ago, and been doing music full time ever since then, and haven't looked back. So I mean, I got no regrets, man. I'm definitely way happier now than what I was waking up at 6 a.m. going to do that every morning.
And then trying to balance music on the backside of it too.
Yeah, I would miss days and shit, trying to be up in the studio late, and then miss the work, and it just got too much, trying to go do shows at night and be there for 6 in the morning. Yeah, it just got too much, man.
Yeah, man. And another thing too, you mentioned, it's a hard thing to bring up, but you mentioned losing your mentor, who was Littles, who that was a big hit to all Canadian hip hop. Rest in peace to Littles. I was just kind of curious, like, how your guys' relationship was too, like, you know, how you guys kind of linked up, and, you know, maybe some of the most important lessons that you learned from him in your time working together.
Yeah, I think that, man, I'm trying to, like, bro, it's crazy. Like, I'm trying to think, that must have been after, I believe that was after the Facts 4.
Yeah?
It might have been, I think it was. Like, it might have been after the Facts 4, shit, like, the year after or something. I was in, because what actually happened, how I met Littles was, I was in a rap battle. They had a rap battle in the city at this place called the Marquee Club. There was like eight people that was supposedly the hottest people in the city. He was in it, and it was like freestyle battle on mics. Like, it wasn't battle like you see today.
Yeah.
It was like on mics, like tournament, like you just, like the winner, if you lose, you're out type of thing. And I remember I was against him in the finals, and I remember always hearing about him and like that he was the best in the city, and you know what I mean. And basically, yeah, it was me and him in the finals. I ended up winning against him in the finals. It was like a crazy moment. I won like $500, man. I was like, shit, I don't know. I was probably like 16 or something like that. And I remember it was a big deal. That's kind of like how my name started buzzing, like, in the city, you know. This might have been before the Facts 4 thing, I think, maybe. Fuck, the timeline's all messed up. But yeah, so I ended up doing that, and then basically he had this crew that he was starting. It was called The Offense, and he saw, you know, how vicious I was, and then he kind of scooped me up, and he's like, man, come start hanging around with me. And that's when you know, we did crazy shit. Like, we had a song on a Boy Wonder beat back then. Man, he pulled me into the whole Offense versus Wise Guys, that whole Drake and all them beef or whatever. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, bro, I was like in high school. And like a part of like the biggest shit going on in Canadian hip hop. So I was just excited, man, back then. And so I just started hanging with him, man. And he always was very, very just encouraging to me. Like, he believed in me so much, and like I was naturally like, you know, kind of a reserved, like, you know, shy type of person. But when I grabbed the mic, I went crazy. So he kind of gave me that confidence, like, yo, you're one of the best, man. Like, start acting like it. He kept, you know, he had the reassurance. So, I don't know, man. It's just a terrible, terrible loss. A lot of great memories, man.
Yeah, man. You know, rest in peace to Littles. It's such a terrible loss to our scene. And it's crazy, actually, you mentioned the Wise Guys thing, too, because I never really realized that. Yeah, like, I guess he kind of would have pulled you into that, right?
Yeah, man. He knew that. He knew I was vicious, man, and I was super hungry. So, and he knew I was loyal to him. So, yeah, man. I didn't even really know those guys. Like, never met them. But you know, if it was something for Littles, I was all in.
And at that time, you would have never even probably imagined that Drake would become the beast he became, eh?
No, hell no, man. I probably met him like. For the first time like 2-3 years after that happened, and this was like when the So Far Gone thing came out, and that was like at the Juno Awards in Newfoundland. And I remember we were like in this upstairs VIP area, then he had his own VIP area in the VIP area. So it was like he had some super exclusive, like, roped off area. Then I remember him leaving, and we were kind of just like walking in the same direction. I was like, I wonder if he even remembers that shit, because like, he's like one of the biggest artists in the world at this time, you know?
Yeah.
And he kind of stopped and laughed and just like dapped me up, and we both kind of laughed. And then he's just like, oh man, you're mad nice or whatever. And I was just like, oh man, I appreciate it, you know, apologize for the words said in the past, whatever. And he was basically just cool as shit. Basically, he said it was all good, and he was a fan of what I was doing. So, yeah, definitely a good dude, man. I've got to kick it around him a couple times since then, and he's always been nothing but super respectful to me and super cool, down to earth dude. So it's crazy to see how far he took it, man. It's super inspiring, actually.
Yeah, it must be. You know what I mean? And like that's the thing too. It's like, you know, just to be able to be, you know, involved with something like that, that's such a, like, piece of Canadian history that I feel like, you know, people our age demographic, they know about it, you know, and the demographic a little older than us and stuff, but, like, the young guns and stuff, like, they have no idea about some of this thick
Yeah,
history.
every once in a while, I'll get, like, if I say something positive about Drake or, like, whatever, like, publicly or whatever, there'll be, like, some random, like, young dude be like, oh, but you dissed him, here's the link, it's on YouTube. Like, them not knowing, like, okay, that was, like, I was, like, 17 years old, like, I'm 30 now, like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't really know the timeline of it all, like.
Yeah, it's like crazy. It's like literally when you did that, you've almost lived that same amount of time of your life since that.
Yeah, I've lived like the same amount of life since then. You know what I mean? Like,
that's crazy, man. And and actually, speaking of Drake too, this wasn't even one of the bullet points, but in the When to Say When too, you talk about the Drake cosign. I was just curious, like, what was the Drake cosign exactly?
Did you see that? Did you watch till the end of the video?
Yeah, like the KOTD thing. Is that what you're talking? Okay.
Yeah, just basically when he shouted me out at the press conference publicly. You know, like he publicly co-signed my shit. You know?
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. You know what I mean? Just to be a part of that history and the fact that, you know, that you guys go through that. And you guys, you know, he's the biggest artist in the world, but I mean, if you saw him tomorrow, you know what I mean? Y'all would be cool. Like, you know what I mean? It's just cool.
Hell
that,
yeah. Hell yeah. Every time I see him, he's cool.
Yeah, man.
Like, he's super down to earth.
It's cool that you share that kind of, you know, you guys can share that history in Canadian hip-hop with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm pretty sure he's the type of guy that watches everything. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be on that level, obviously. But, like, in my head, I'm like, damn, he probably forgot about a lot of that shit. But he really hasn't. Like, and he still, like, seems to be up to date with it. Like, you know?
Yeah,
so
man.
crazy.
Yo, if someone as calculated as him, you know he's always watching everything, and I feel like he doesn't forget nothing.
No, definitely not. There's certain lines I'll hear him say that are like, that I know he's talking about shit from like years ago. Like, you know what I mean? I know he's probably that type of guy that remembers it all.
Yeah, man. Even in his music, you can hear it on certain albums and stuff. Like, he's talking about shit like, you're like, damn, like, you must be talking about someone who pissed him off like damn near 15 years ago, or you know what I mean? Shit like that.
Yeah.
You know.
There's certain ones I catch that I'm certain that's the case, you know?
Yeah, definitely, man. You know, and another thing I want to say too, you know, congrats on the you know, doing the Stay Tuned podcast with Pat Stay. I'm a huge fan. I've watched every episode since you guys been dropping them. I love it.
Appreciate it, man.
And like, how did the whole idea for you guys to even do a podcast come about?
I think, well, Pat's been talking about it for like, man, probably like the last couple of years. Like, I remember, I think it started out as like, bro, come over to my garage. Like, we're gonna just watch funny videos, go live, and do shrooms and laugh at them. Like, so we always like had this idea. And then one night, I think I went over there and we did like a live, just an Instagram live, and people really liked it. And, you know, there was great feedback. So he was like, man, we got to do a podcast. And we talked about it and talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. But we didn't have the place. We didn't have like, a camera guy set up. We didn't know how the mics or the audio worked. So we pretty much just, like, pulled in DJ Ivy. He had all the gear because he previously had a podcast. He does all the audio, so he already knew what he was doing. We have a local smoke shop here, Mary Jane's, that sponsored us, let us do it there. And then we got a camera guy aboard, and then we kind of just selected two of our friends that we thought would fit and complement it. And so, you know, at first it was going to be me, Pat, and Miracle, and then we added Dickie, you know, who was my best friend growing up. We added him like the last minute, and that was kind of Pat's idea. And I think just with all four of us, man, it's a good energy, and everyone has their role. You know, we got the bad guy, we got the mediator, we got everyone, man. And I feel like everyone plays off each other well, and it's evident to the audience that we're all actually friends. Like, it's not weird. It just seems as though we're just hanging out, and I think that's why people like it.
Yeah, man, that's actually what I was going to say, too, because I do a couple podcasts myself, and, I'm a huge fan of podcast interviews. That's what I spend most of my time. I hardly, as much as I love rap, it's like I hardly find myself listening to music anymore because I'm always watching other content.
Yes, sir.
And as soon as I came across your guys' shit, I'm like, oh, Pat Stay's got a podcast? I'm like, well, he's an animated character. You know what I mean? He's very opinionated. I'm like, this has got to be interesting. And then I seen you on the board. I'm like, oh, shit, this has got to be interesting. And, yeah, just ever since I watched I think I came in at episode 3, and then I've gone back, watched all the episodes, and watched them as they drop since. And you guys do have that perfect balance of chemistry between you and the other 3 hosts. It's like... It's just you guys set it off properly, and it's rare to see that in such infant stages of a podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I mean, we're obviously, like you said, at the infant stages. We're still watching back and learning to work on a few things, such as like just to make our craft better. But I think that we are definitely on the right track so early in.
Yeah, definitely. And like, one thing that can get, a little bit difficult to get used to in podcasting is speaking your opinions and forgetting that the world's listening, or being around people speaking their opinions and knowing that the world's listening. And I was just curious, like, when Pat Stay was going in on like someone like Lloyd Banks and calling them pussy, right? Like, does that put you in an awkward spot at all because you are still an active recording artist?
No, I don't think so. Because I don't know. I think any man should know that whatever comes out of somebody's mouth is their opinion, and like I'm very careful on what I say, knowing that. And that's a good question because I really do think about that, and I'm super conscious of what I say, knowing that I may want to work with somebody someday or whatever, So yeah, I definitely am conscious about that. But we do also, it's not live, so if something gets too crazy, then we always have the option to clip it out and everything, so.
Yeah, that's important too, because, out of my 2 podcasts, we do one that is not live, and that's exactly the same thing. If something gets overboard, you can cut it out, but we also do one that's live, and I'm the opinionated guy on our podcast, and I've definitely got caught saying some things before where I'm like, shit, I wish I did not say that.
Yeah, it's heat of the moment, so I mean, it's tough, especially when you're around your friends.
Yeah.
And it feels so natural that it's just like you sitting at a pub, you know what I mean? But you forget that it's going out to the world. So I can see how that happens, but yeah, I think for the most part we're pretty good, and people know we're genuinely good people, and we don't mean no malice towards anyone. It's just straight up hip hop debate, man. That's how it gets sometimes.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's part of what makes it great conversation, too. Like, that's one thing that immediately attracted me to your podcast as soon as I started listening to it, is that, you guys don't really hold back. You might, you might be cautious, but you guys don't hold back your opinions and shit, you know what I mean? And that's important in the type of podding you do.
I think so, man.
Very important in the type of podcasting you guys do. That's what makes it authentic and makes people want to listen, because we want to hear opinions, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir, exactly, man. And like, it's crazy, like some of the comments you'll see, it's like, this person doesn't know what you're talking about. But like, sometimes you gotta take the other side. Like, Ricky plays devil's advocate a lot. He may necessarily not, he may be just pushing buttons sometimes, but I think that's what makes it exciting. Like, how boring would the podcast be if we all just agreed, like, okay, so Jay-Z is dope. Yep, he's dope. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, if there's no like debate, or this person's better or that, if there's no debate, it would be boring. So I think it's good to actually have people that are on opposite sides or play devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, exactly the way you worded it is perfect. Like, you need a devil's advocate person in a podcast. Without it, it's exactly what you said. It's bland conversation. You need someone, even if they agree with everything you're saying, they have to bring the opposing question as if they don't agree, just so you get all sides and covers of the debate in the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, you guys are doing great with it, though. You know, I just wanted to commend you guys on that because it's rare I see a podcast in such young stages that you guys already got, like, that chemistry is on 100. So you guys just keep pushing, and I can see that going far, man.
No, I appreciate it, man.
And you guys just had Snack the Ripper on there, too, which was a great episode. And I know that you had just toured all across Canada with Snack the Ripper as well, too. Now, what, like half a year ago?
Say that again?
What was that, like 6 months ago now, I think, or around that?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was the end of August till the end of October.
And like how, like I know you've toured a lot too, but you know, Snack the Ripper is one of those artists with a very cult following. You know, like what was that experience like touring the country with Snack?
Yeah, it was inspiring, man. It's cool. Snack gave me a lot of advice, and it's cool to just see that he has that cult following that's going to come out every night and support. And I think that some of the audience probably, I know for a fact that a lot of them probably never heard of my music before. So I mean, it was every night a packed house to new people who haven't heard of me, who I could win over at the end of the night. So basically, I just gained a whole bunch of knowledge, gained a bunch of new fans, and tapped in with Snack, and everything was good, man. And we got to do the song. We got together every night, which people loved, and sung the words to and shit. So yeah, man, it was dope.
It helped turn a lot of new heads onto your music, but the loyal heads too, because Snack has that cult following, and that's an important thing.
Exactly, man. He has the people they're not fickle fans, they're not with whatever's just the wave, and then on tomorrow, like they're people that have grew with him, like he was even saying in the podcast, like there's some people that started listening to him when they were in high school, and they still come to the show, but now they have like kids, and they're like in their 30s, late 30s, and he's just like, they stick around with him because he is that type of artist that has that cult following. So I mean, that's what I aspire to do as well.
Yeah, man. And curious as well too, because Did you and Snack have like a relationship prior to that, or is that how you guys kind of initially linked up? Was going on tour together?
Well, no, I was in Toronto for some reason. I forget the reason now. And this is actually how it happened. It's kind of crazy. I was letting Spotify play, and you know how sometimes when it plays, it just jumps to the next song, like whatever the song it may be, like something similar in the vein. And it jumped onto one song, and I was like, man, it sounds familiar. Like, what is this? And I looked at my phone, and it was like Snack the Ripper, and I was like, fuck, I knew it. It sounded familiar. I was like, this is dope, man. And I was like, man, I'm surprised I never really met him or spoke to him before, whatever. So I get off the plane, and I get to my hotel room, and then I got, like, the night free, and I hit Bishop up, Bishop Agante. I was like, what's going on tonight, anything? And then he's like, Snack the Ripper has a show at such and such place or whatever. And I Googled it or whatever, and it was like 500 meters like from my hotel. So I just went down. Yeah, I just went down there. So that was just crazy how that lined up. Went down there, met him. He was cool, everything. Then he came to Halifax probably 2 months later on that same tour, and then he brought me up. I did a couple tracks with him, and we kicked it again. And then basically I had this song called Way Up. I had like the first verse and the hook, and I wanted to get a feature on it, but I wasn't really sure. I sent it to a couple people, and they never really hit me back, or they said they couldn't do it or whatever. So I was to the point where I'm like, I wonder if the fans could just suggest someone like who they would want to see on this. So I put it up on my Instagram story, and I was like, who do you guys see on this second verse or whatever? And then probably 30 seconds later, he just inboxes me. He's like, me, take that down, send that to me right now. And then he just said he was super inspired, like he hadn't been inspired from a song like that, like in a minute or something, and he's just like, man, they just brought the energy to him, and he basically did it probably the next day or two, and then that's when I knew when it was all complete. I was like, we got it all mixed and shit, it was sounding proper, and I was like, man, this is gonna be something. And so that's basically how it happened, and that song did really well, and then Yeah, and he was doing the tour. He basically just asked me to join along, man. And I was like, hell yeah.
That's dope, man. You know, and and that's the thing about the industry too, is like, you know, and a lot of up and coming artists, I think, you know, really need to take notes and realize about is that it's the opportunities that never present themselves as opportunities that sometimes turn out being the biggest opportunities, you know?
Yeah, that was all organic, you know, like that was meant to happen. Like that wasn't anyone being, you know, extra like thirsty or nothing. Like, you know how some people are just like too thirsty for opportunities. It's like a turn off, like, almost, you know. But this was just like a natural, organic thing that just carried out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, man, and you know, like if you would have landed in Toronto that night and not texted, but you're like, I'm a little tired, maybe I'll go out tomorrow night or something. You know what I mean? Like it would never happen. It's just like,
and then just that song coming on the Spotify, and then him saying that, I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Like sometimes weird shit like that happens, man. I don't know what it is, law of attraction or what it is, but like, man, that shit's happened to me so many times. Like, where I'll be thinking I want to work with someone or something, and they'll hit me up, or you know what I mean? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, man, I take that. I think all that stuff, that's always a sign of the universe, you know. It's like the energy you put out there, you know, like you said in, you even say it in When to Say When, but, you know, like looking at your list of goals you want to accomplish, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But
Hell yeah.
You put that stuff in the universe, and as long as you truly believe it and you put that energy out there, the universe has a way of receiving that and returning it to you, as long as you know how to recognize the opportunities. And sometimes they hide themselves and disguise themselves in ways that you wouldn't imagine.
1,000%, man. And like the opportunity is there. It's just if you're willing to step outside of your comfort zone sometimes.
Yeah.
And when it presents itself, some people get scared to take it, but yeah, you got to do it, man. I remember when I was in the airport. I think it was the Toronto airport. This might have been the same trip. I don't know. But I don't know if you know who Tuma is. Tuma Basa. He's like the main dude, one of the main dudes for hip-hop at YouTube now. But he worked for Spotify for years. He did the Rap Caviar. He worked anyway, like a big industry dude.
Yeah.
And I seen him sitting at the bar with his wife. And I was like, I should go say something, like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, but in my head, I'm like, nah, I'm not just going to walk up to this man's table, blah, blah, blah. So I'm, like, sitting here, like, literally contemplating this. I'm like, damn, this is, like, an actual opportunity. But then I was like, man, I'm going to, like, bitch out, whatever. I got to go. I'm making all these excuses. And I called my girl. I was like, should I do it? She's like, yeah, just go do it. I was like, all right, fuck it. And, like, I'm nervous. You know what I mean? I'm not the type of person to just walk up on someone on their table and, like, introduce like, man, I hate that shit.
Yeah.
But I went and I did it. And then, like, bro, I've seen this guy, like, a bunch of times since, and he always remembers that. And he's like, yeah, my wife thought I was the man because I got recognized. And now I send him my music, and, like, we talk and shit. And it's like, just for that little thing, it's like, if the opportunity's there, I think you got to take it, and it could lead to something positive. So I think you're absolutely right about that, recognizing the opportunity and knowing when to take it.
Yeah, man, 100%. And that's cool too, man, because I'm the same type of way. Like, I'm very reserved. I see somebody, like, you know, I might like make it known, like, you know, an artist, I like something, like, yeah, I like your music, but I'm not gonna come out and be like, yo, I do radio, let's do an interview, you know, I'm gonna be all extra and shit, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very reserved in that way, but it's like sometimes when you have the opportunity, you just have to take it. No matter, it's like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? They're gonna say no?
Yeah,
you're gonna feel a little stupid. It's like, you know.
It's you know what I mean? It's nothing is gonna happen. Like, if you would just walk away, you'll be left with the same thing as if they said no anyway. So you might as well try.
Exactly, man. And you know, so I kind of want to go back to one of my favorite songs of yours. You know, coming up, I think actually you dropped it right around the time I started this show. Because when I started this show, I used to play this song heavy. But Dance Song, that's one of my favorite joints of yours, man. I love that song.
Oh, respect, man. Yeah, that was one of my favorites for years as well, man.
Like, just you embodied and captioned exactly what it is to be an artist with integrity from our generation who appreciates lyrics and struggles with not compromising that integrity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. That basically just came from, at that time, I think it was like, I don't know if the trap beats were like just starting or whatever. I think they were, and it was like Rick Ross. What was that song called? I think I'm Big Meech. Like, it was a bunch of those type of like beats, like Lex Luger and all them, and it was like, and my friends were killing me, like, yo, you need to do something like this. You need to do something like this, and I was killing myself, like, trying to do it, and nothing just seemed natural, and I'm like, man, fuck, I can't do nothing. And then I just put that beat on and basically just, like, spilled my whole feelings on the subject, and it turned out that way. So that was like another organic song, but yeah, definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, man, and I was curious too, like, because actually the way you just said it, like, you put that beat on, let it spill out, just organically, and I was actually curious, because, like, it just feels that way, but is that one of those songs you just wrote in one session, no thought, just how you were feeling kind of thing?
Yeah, it was, man, and I'm pretty sure the mix or not, like, isn't even, like, when I send my stuff to get mixed, I'm pretty sure it's just my mix, like, it's not, like, it just wasn't even touched, like, it might have been, like, maybe mastered or something, but just whatever I did that day, I just left it. Like, it all just came out in one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was just like, I'm not even touching this. Like, I like it. I like how it sounds.
So that's just, like, as organic as it absolutely gets then.
Yeah.
You know what? And I think sometimes, too, like, as MCs, a lot of times we battle with, trying to be dope, and it's like, like, I'm sure you can relate, but like, sometimes you'll write a verse in 30 minutes and it'll be fire, but then other times you literally sit there and spend like a month going back to this verse and trying to make it perfect and stuff, and it's like it
Yeah, I've done both, but I think the quick one is usually the good one.
Yeah,
because like I spent months on some shit before, and it's just like, you know what I mean, at that point it's kind of like you're overthinking it or something. Like, any of my best shit I've written super quick.
Yeah.
So if I'm like struggling to get an idea or like whatever, like sometimes I'll sit there like 8 hours a day, listen to the beats and not write one single word, and then that's gonna happen. That's cool. But I think that those days prepare you for the times when it's just gonna come out in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think you gotta go through both.
Definitely.
Yeah, or even yourself out.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny too, because it's like, yeah, you'll spend all this time trying to make the perfect verse. You're like, yo, technically, this is the greatest thing ever. Look at the way I did these multis and the way that this entendre goes into this one and this line and stuff. You're like, this is a masterpiece of lyricism. And then you'll sit and write something in 30 minutes that'll be like the shit that everybody likes the most. You know what I mean? And that even
it's because it's the feeling. It's because at that point you're going off the feeling, and that's what people relate to, is actual feeling, human emotion. And if you're trying to make everything a math equation, like, yeah, that's cool and impressive and great, and some people look for that in hip-hop, that's what I feel like Eminem does a lot of that, and that's definitely a very skilled thing to have. But I think when you just go in off the emotion, that's what actually touches people. You sure, being lyrically, whatever, like, mathematical and perfect down to a science, like, that shit is super impressive, and a lot of people do like that and respect that, including myself. But I think, like I said, when it comes from a real place and people can hear the sincerity and the emotion, that's when they like it the most, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. And the example you used, that I was actually, before you said it, I was going to say the exact same thing. Like, I think that is my biggest critique to Eminem in his most recent years, is that, he just needs a little bit more of the emotion side, and just to let it come out freely, opposed to just treating it like math. Like, both are cool, but it's like that middle ground you need, where it's like, that's what makes, like, some of the best hip-hop songs of all time. It's got to be organic, but it's got to be mathematical to a degree.
For sure. I think at this point, like, I think he can just do whatever he wants. And you got to remember, like, he's pretty much done it all. So when it's like, when you've done it all as an artist, it's kind of like, I know for myself as an artist, I don't want to make the same shit I've already done. I don't want to, you know what I mean? So like, I think he's just at the point where he's like, all right, let me just out-rap myself. more than ever. Like, I think that's just the direction he chose, which is cool because he's already given us everything, you know. So it's got to be tough, like being that in the game that long, and you're trying to constantly do something that you haven't done before. So
yeah, and really,
it can become tough.
And to be like that too, yeah, it's like literally, what else can you do except out-rap yourself? You know what I mean? Like,
I seen him say one time, he's like, picture like a blank canvas at the start of your career, and then every song is a stroke of a paintbrush on it. And then he's like, all right, picture like however many albums later, now he's like 45, he's like, that fucking canvas is pretty much all covered in paint. Like, there's very few white spots left to cover, and that's what he's trying to do, like some shit where he hasn't touched before. And I kind of related to that.
Wow, yeah, that's true. And actually, with that being said too, you know, because you do have a wide catalog for your years in the game as well too, and like with your canvas, you know, and the white spots left, this kind of goes full circle to, you know, how we got on the topic. But do you think there's a chance that maybe in coming years that you might now make a dance song or something of that tier and try to do something that direction, because it is a part of the canvas that hasn't been covered yet?
Yeah, I think I don't rule anything out. I don't rule anything out, especially if it's, as long as it's organic at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, when you try to make a certain type of song, like, it's just a disaster. Like, okay, like I had a song on Top 40 radio, like it was on the Billboard for Canadian radio.
Yep.
Like, I think it was like it peaked at like number 30, called Confessions, when it was on pop radio. So that's like a pop song, you know?
Yeah, I remember
like,
that joint. Yeah.
That shit just came together like organically. Like, it wasn't like I wasn't sitting down being like, let me try to make a pop song. It was like, let me just try to do what I'm doing, and it ended up there. So then after that happened, like, I made the mistake of trying to follow that up to be like, all right, I need to get back on the radio. So then I started trying to do that.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. You know what I mean? So again, I don't want to rule any of that out, but I think that, you know, I think if it came along organically, then cool. Like, I'm not opposed to anything, you know. I like all varieties of music. I'm not like one of the hip hop heads, the old school hip hop heads is like, no, it has to be boom bap. You have to stand whatever in front of a graffiti wall, and
yeah,
like, I'm open minded. So like, I'm not gonna say that. I just did a remix that's a far stretch from me, like super unexpected. I don't know if I'm gonna put it out just because I don't know what people will say, but like, I'm open to all types of music.
Well, the one thing I would say, you know, with this remix that you're talking about, I don't know what joint you did, you know, and I'll let you keep that under wraps. But as long as you listen to it and you fuck with it, fuck what anybody else thinks, man. I think you should put that out.
Yeah, straight up. I mean, it's fun to try different shit, man. Like I said, it's when you're so used to doing the same shit, it doesn't become challenging anymore. So
it becomes boring.
It's fun. It's fun to step out of the box. That's why people are like, I remember when Snoop did the reggae album and Kanye was singing on 808s, and people were like, you know, the listeners were like, why would they do that? Like, I don't get it. But like, as an artist, I understand. It's like, if you're doing the same shit for like 10 years or whatever it is, like, it just becomes boring. Like, you want another part of your brain lit up. Like, you need to try something else, you know?
Yo, that's a fact, man. And even like to attest to that too, like an artist I've always looked up to, Classified, you know, he kept a very 90s hip-hop aesthetic to him for years. And the last two times I've interviewed him, because I've interviewed him probably, I think, 4 times now, but the last 2 times, one was coming off of, oh shit, what album was it now? One was, either way, it was a few years ago. It was before he dropped the last project, the double EP. But what was the album before that? Grateful, right? And he told me Grateful was going to be his last album. And so then time goes forward. Then he does the Tomorrow what's the name of it?
Yeah, I know what you mean. The latest one.
Yeah, the one that he came out in 2 parts and then was like one combined project. And then so when I interviewed him coming off that, when they did the weed smoking video in Toronto there, I was like, so you told me that was going to be your last album. Now you put this album out. Do you think this is going to be your last album? And he's like, yeah, this might be it, you know. And then he came out with the new joint Rap Shit. And he's kind of in this new song, like, he's kind of exactly talking about what you're talking about, like how it's, you know, you get bored of doing the same thing. He's like, I wrote a whole song about rap shit, then scrapped it, and even the beats kind of, you know, got more of a trappy vibe to it and stuff, and it's like, it even goes to show.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, you gotta, man, the brain needs to be stimulated in different ways, like, or else it gets boring, and it just becomes, like, not challenging. But, yeah, he's been saying the last album thing for like 10 years, man. I think he got like a new acoustic album coming out now and another new album. So I don't think he can ever stop, man.
I don't think so.
I think it's just what he does, and he'll always keep going.
It runs in his blood. It runs in his blood, man. He can't stop.
Yeah, man.
How did you and Class originally link up too? Because you said you were recording with him when you were like 14, right? Or 15.
Yeah, basically, I think I just came across his music one day online, and then I ended up seeing him at a couple shows, like Ludacris. I used to go to every show that came there, like Ludacris came, and then I seen Class open up, and then whoever, this one and that one, he would be around, and then I think I just hit him up one day. I don't know how I hit him up. We used to have this message board for Halifax Hip Hop called Highly Famous. It might have been through that, but I'm not sure how I hit him up. But basically, I just hit him up. And no, actually, I'm lying. The first time I went there was because Brew gave me a chance to do a song with me, and then he's like, "Yeah, come down to this my boy's studio," and Class recorded it for us. That was like one of the first songs I ever like put out seriously. So that was basically it. And then basically I think from there I just asked him, like, you know what I mean? You got studio time? I think he was like laid off at the point or on EI or some shit. So he was like, he wanted the money. I was like, yeah, fuck it, man. Like, however much you charge, let's go. And I used to like bike there and shit. Bro, I remember I used to do all kinds of shit. Like I used to, I remember on like snowfall days, like I would be like, yo, bro, can I shovel your driveway for like an hour of studio time? And like, do all kinds of funny shit like that. And, you know, being like 14, 15 years old, like looking up to him like crazy. To me, it was just a like a privilege to be there. Like I never wanted to leave. They probably wanted to kick me out so many times. Like, when is this kid going home? I just wanted to stay, man, and just soak it all in.
Yo, that's amazing, man. Fucking offering Class to fucking shovel his driveway for studio time is wild.
yeah.
But yo, it just shows the drive and dedication you had from a young age, man.
Yes, sir, man. I wanted to make it happen, like no matter what, and I feel like I still have that. So.
And that's cool too, that you said it was like around the time he was laid off. So you could like literally, like me as a fan, I can pinpoint that to being like between like union dues and trial and error times. Like,
yeah, it was around that time. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool, man. But speaking of like that too, like, you know, like being that young and doing that kind of stuff, like how is it, like, you know, to go from being like the young guy on the scene, the youth in the scene, to progressing and being where you're at now, where you're a veteran on the scene? You know what I mean?
It's weird, man. It's weird. Like, some of the new stuff now, I actually said the other day, like, I'm trying to get more familiar with what's going on, because it all goes so quick, and you really don't even feel any different, to be honest. Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't really feel any different than I did back then. But then sometimes I'll catch, like, if I'm talking to, like, a younger artist or whatever, like, I'll catch, like, the nervousness in their eyes, or like the way they're looking at me or whatever, and I'll be like, damn, like that's the way I was, like I felt talking to like Class and them, like, and then it'll kind of like hit me like, damn, like when I see them acting a certain way, or like, you know what I mean, they're trying to watch what they say, or their nervous energy, they're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of like feels like, damn, this really came full circle, like that was me. And I think it just takes like little scenarios like that to happen for me to sometimes realize it, but like all in all, man, I don't feel any different. Like I feel like I'm at my best right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I'm still just going, man. Like that's it.
You still kind of feel like sometimes when you're around certain people, you are still the young guy on the scene?
If I'm around like Class and them, yeah, of course. And I feel like, man, one day I forget what we were doing. It was like a bunch of us there, and he said something like, yeah, all the new guys go first or something. I was like, at this point, I'm like 28. I'm like, bro, I've known you for like 15 years. What do you mean, new guys? I was like, so definitely, like, if you're around older people, then yeah, it still hasn't changed. Like, I think people like, man, time goes quick, and you don't feel any different, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And actually, before we do move on to just talking about like the young scene and the older scene, I was just curious. When I was out touring on the East Coast, what was it, like a year and a half, 2 years ago? We had a group opening up for the tour, a few shows, and there was this dude who had a song that was really doing well. I was just curious if you're familiar with him, but Skot.
Skot. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's from the Dartmouth side of the bridge. I'm not sure exactly where. It might be Preston, East Preston, I think, maybe.
Is around there? Yeah.
I know that song you had that you're talking about.
The half of it joint.
Dope. What was it?
You don't even know the half?
Yes, yeah, that's it. Yeah, Pat Stay showed me that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that song is super fire. Super fire.
Yeah, it's a big joint, man. Shout out to Skot, man. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, man. You know, I like the way you guys work on the East Coast, man. You know, you guys got a community out there. You know, I feel like here in Toronto there's a lot of segregation in our hip hop scene.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a big city, but you know, here the only unfortunate thing is like we don't have a lot. Like you guys have a lot to look to who have like made it worldwide. Like a lot of people here quit because no one has done it, and they can't really look at someone who's done it or hear stories and get that inspiration, so they quit, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, Class is probably the only one, and some people that do some types of hip-hop aren't going to relate to what he does, so it's like they don't see themselves, somebody who represents themselves who's ever done it. So, you know, sometimes it's tough. It's tough, right?
Yeah. Definitely, but you guys got a lot of talent out there, man, and you know, it's you know, I'm just excited to see what the East Coast brings, and you know, you guys, someone from the East is gonna pop, man, and I
think it's gonna be a good 10 years, man.
Yeah,
like our city's growing crazy right now too. Like, bro, there's huge buildings like every day now. Like our city's gonna grow population, like it's going crazy.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna happen because we're gonna have the amount of people to support. You know what I mean? We're gonna have just the amount of people to make enough noise so that it pushes out to the rest of the world. I think you'll see something cool in the next like 10 years, man.
Yeah.
I think you'll see something super cool.
I think so too, man. I seen a lot of cranes while I was out there. You know, it almost reminiscent of Toronto. So I seen you guys are building, and you're a port city too. So it only makes sense that you guys are expanding.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think. I don't know. Well, I can tell you right now that I'm not even close to finished. Like I'm just getting started. So you're gonna see a lot, even from me alone, coming up. Like so, I'm excited, man. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good. You know, I did my first decade. This is the second one. I think it's gonna be a good time.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you're coming out with, man. Do you got now in the works right now?
Yeah, I actually do right now, man. Just working on it, trying to get it right. Got a lot of plans for like the whole rollout. Really thinking hard on this one and want to make it something special. It has been 10 years since my debut album, so this is it's gonna tie into that. I don't want to give too much away, but like it's gonna kind of tie into that. And I got a super cool idea that is gonna give everyone a nostalgic feeling as far as rollout and content, and I'm planning a lot of content with this album, like maybe like 70 pieces of content. Woo. So it's gonna give like a certain vibe, and it's gonna have a nostalgic feel, and it's gonna definitely put people in their feels, man, for sure.
Wow. Okay. Dope. That's real dope. I like that too, man. It seems like, you know, I like how, you know, like the progression, but just like how you're approaching this. It's like, you know, I can relate to it in a sense because, like I said, I just turned 30 as well, and it's like I feel like anything I do now, it's like you got to put your all in it. It's no more half-ass, and you can't put an album together, put it out, hope the people that listen to you catch it and fuck with it. It's like everything's got to be strategic. You got to roll things out. You got to be proper with it. So that's exciting, man. I'm excited to see what you got coming with this.
Yeah, man, this is everything I've ever learned, every connect I've ever had, everything all rolled into one. Like, that's the way I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
You said 70 pieces of content?
That's the plan. Yeah, man. That's the plan. That's the plan.
That's dope, man. I'm looking forward to that. You know, so the show's only an hour long as well, too. So, you know, we will cut it off. And plus, I know, you know, you probably got shit on the go, too. I don't want to keep you all night. But I do want to ask you just one kind of funny, simple question before we do wrap it up.
Yes, sir.
I love the joint you did over the Down with the Kings, the King of Donaire. I'm just curious, did KOD at least give you free Donaire for life for doing that?
Oh man, they hooked me up with the KOD money anytime I need it, and yeah, man, and they threw me a check for that too.
Oh, word, okay.
And, yeah. So man, those guys look out for me, man, beyond like. More than I would ever need, you know what I mean? So I'm super happy with that partnership. Those dudes are great, man. Actually, one thing I will let slide for the new album, I'm gonna be I don't know if you've seen the pizza boxes they have where it's like the head is cut out, where it's like you put your head in it and then the box is the body. Have you seen those?
No.
So, like, on the inside of the box, when you open it up, like, on the neck part, it'll be cut out. You know those like, cardboard things where it's like, you put your face in the hole and then take the picture and it's, like, around?
Yep.
Yeah, you're like that person. So they got, like, trailer park boys, like, you know what I mean? Like, Julian holding the drink with the black T-shirt. Then you put your head in and it looks like your head's on Julian's body, like, right on the pizza box or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But I got the Quake one coming, man, this summer. I got the Quake one coming, so I feel like that'll be dope, man.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool, man. You know what I mean? I just want to thank you for your time, Quake, you know, and, you know, when you got the new project out, you know, there's tons of history of we still ain't even touch on, you know, you're someone I've wanted to talk to on the show for a long time. Huge fan of your music, and hopefully when you put the album out, we get you back on the show, especially if you're going to be in Toronto, we could get you to come through the station and do it in person or something too, you know.
Yes, sir, man.
It's a revolving door here, man. You're always welcome back on the show. Love to have you again. But before we let you go, please just let the people know, you know, anywhere they can find you online, all that good stuff.
Yes, sir. Just everywhere at Quake Matthews, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, QuakeMatthews.com. Anywhere Quake Matthews, QuakeMatthews, man.
Word up, man. And looking forward to the album, man. Thank you very much for your time, Quake.
Yes, man, I appreciate it. This was a good chat, man.
Salute, my G. And, yeah, right, like I said, man, you're welcome back anytime. Love to have you on the show again. Once you got the album out, you're promoting it. Doors always open, my man.
Appreciate it, man. I'll hit you up.
All right, my man. Have a blessed evening.
All right, bro. You too. Peace.
Cheers.